Interiors, where quality flooring costs less.
Any showers will die out, and tonight should be mainly dry and clear, although some showers might linger in the north and in Atlantic coastal areas. Lowest overnight temperatures of 5 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Yes, you're very welcome to Thursday Night's Off the Ball. Dave McIntyre sitting in for Nathan, joined in studio tonight by Richie McCormack and Stuey Byrne. Evening, gents.
Dave, what's seldom is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's good to have you back.
Something like that. You know, it's always nice to come back in every so often and dip my toe
You're kind of
into
like
the presenting waters.
You're kind of like Off the Ball's very own Comet. Once every so often you'll come into view.
When am I due next?
When are you due next? Probably in the next 7, 8 months or something like that. It's a bit of an irregular timetable. It depends on the sun.
Yes, it does. It does.
Which you've seen plenty of by the looks of it as well.
It's out of a bottle. I got a bottle of fake bake out before I left the house earlier this evening.
The idea of you having one of those little mini tents in the corner of your room, spraying yourself.
No one to do my back though. Plenty to get through in tonight's show.
Give me an hour, Dave.
We will have John Giles in with us shortly, as we do every Thursday night, to chat through a few of the football stories of the week, of which there are many, despite it being middle of June and right in the middle of the close season. After 8 o'clock, we're going to turn our attention to Gaelic games. Brendan Devaney and Enda McGinley will join us to preview Sunday's Ulster final between Cavan and Donegal. What an amount of colour and what a festival of football that could and hopefully will be. I'll be there myself, really looking forward to it. There won't be an empty seat in St. Tiernack's Park. Cyril Farrell will then join us to talk through the feeling in Galway after last Saturday's defeat to Dublin and their subsequent championship elimination. Do get in touch with us in all the usual ways. You can text us on 53106. You can, of course, contact us on Twitter, Facebook, or indeed our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe there as well. You will get a little notification every time we go live throughout the day. Give us your thoughts on anything we are discussing tonight. It's a glorious experience, Ulster football final day. Stuey, I suspect I'm right in saying that you haven't experienced it.
I haven't experienced it, no.
Right.
I haven't experienced it.
Some year, go and do it.
I want it. Huh? You reckon?
Absolutely.
Boy.
It's one of those
Madness.
items that should be on every sports fan's bucket list, all up there alongside World Cup finals and Olympic 100 metre finals.
What?
Ulster Championship final day.
Why is this physical?
Sun always shines.
Right.
Huge amount of colour, particularly when there is a county involved that hasn't got over the line in quite some time, which is the case this Sunday.
Right.
It's the one provincial championship, maybe along with Connacht, that actually still means an awful lot.
Right.
There's going to be a massive crowd. And what more do you need?
You're
not sold.
No, I'm not sold, no. You're going to have to sell it to me more than.
Well, it's going to be a far more consequence and excitement than what will be happening in a couple of hours after it in Croke Park. When Dublin play Meath, there's a fixture that means nothing in comparison to what it once did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happened there. I think that rivalry seems to have gone. Like, you know, Dublin's obviously gone that way. Meath have gone the other way for various
a long time.
reasons.
Yeah, Meath have. It's a one provincial title in 18 years.
2010, the magic of Joe Sheridan brought it home.
I think 01 was the last time they won it.
Yeah,
it's Graham Gerd.
Prior to that,
how's the excitement levels from a Cavan standpoint, Dave?
Well, I know that certainly.
I'm just like from your feelers within the county.
There's a serious hype in the county, as you can imagine. It's gone into overdrive in the last couple of days in particular because the attendance, the capacity of St. Tiernack's Park has been reduced by over 5,000 this year after a health and safety review after last year's championship. So it's under 30,000 now.
Right.
And I don't think either county board are expecting to send tickets back. So if you haven't got your tickets already, there may be a few coming on sale over the next 24 to 48 hours, but it's unlikely. It's going to be a struggle. I know the scrambling Cavan started for tickets as soon as they'd beaten Armagh. I know my family, both sides of my family, were looking for tickets very early on. They're all heading up. We'll all stay up and hoping they might bridge that 22-year gap.
What's the feeling in terms of how they might do it? Like, is there a sense that are Cavan going for the occasion, or are Cavan going to actually win an Ulster title here?
I don't think Cavan can afford to be going for the occasion because the occasions don't come around very often. I think they've won one Ulster title in 50 years. And this is a county that had won 39 prior to 19...
The Roscommon, I'm sure the Roscommon achievement has a big play here. I mean, like, when it's going to... Whether it could be the year of the underdog.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
It's huge motivation to a county like that to see what Roscommon have achieved.
Yeah, and you saw the reaction of the Roscommon fans. It's where they hadn't done it in 50 years, even though they had done it for a second time in 3 years.
It only takes that, just belief, just a bit.
Yeah,
just a bit
they
of belief.
could, and Roscommon were obviously one of the other team along Cavan that were relegated from Division 1 of the Alliance League this year. So they've seen Roscommon go away from home and beat a Division 1 team, a team that were expected to beat them, and particularly in the manner they came back in the second half, have been 5 points down at half time. Yeah, I don't think Cavan can afford to go out and say, well, isn't it great to be here, and if we get beat today we still have one more crack off the Super 8s because we'll be in a round 4 qualifier, because you don't know how long it's going to be before they're back in an Ulster final. But Donegal are just so experienced at that level. It's their 7th final in this decade. They're the defending champions. They're a new team with a new breed of player, having moved on from the Jimmy Guinness and Rory Gallagher eras. I think it's going to be very hard for Cavan. We'll get a more nuanced analysis of it from Brendan Devaney and Enda McGinley, but I'm certainly looking forward to the occasion, whatever about the players, but it's just going to be so colourful. Walking down the hill into the square in Clonus on Ulster final day, there are very few Irish sporting experiences that can rival it.
What's the sense from a Donegal point of view of how Rochford has settled into that?
He seems to be getting a huge amount of credit for the way they've played.
Yeah.
Declan Bonner, I liken it to what Leo Cullen did by having the humility and the modesty and the foresight to bring Stuart Lancaster into the Leinster setup, knowing that he might dilute some of the credit that was going to come his way, but it was all about making Leinster better as a group and as a coaching team. And I think Stephen Rochford has definitely done that. I obviously don't have an insight into what he does on a session-to-session basis, but he was certainly appearing to be running things pre-match in Clonus before in Cavan before the Tyrone game. And he has just kind of gone in behind the scenes and he's done his stuff and he's showing all of his coaching credentials without having to worry about the huge task it is to manage an inter-county team like Mayo.
It's weird because these idea of like a two-pronged management teams back in the 90s, they just seemed like complete anathema. There was the Steve Great Alan Kirbishley experiment at Charlton, which worked to a degree, and then Liverpool tried it with Houllier and Roy Evans. But slowly but surely there are more clubs in, like we mentioned 3 different codes there. You talked about Lancaster and Cullen at Leinster, you can talk about Rochford and Bonner with Donegal. I look at the way that Trevor Crowley has worked alongside Keelan at Bowes. Like Crowley was a manager in his own right and has gone in as an assistant.
Look at Tip now with Liam Sheedy and Eamon O'Shea.
I would definitely say that is to do with the technical and tactical advances in all sports, across rugby, Gaelic, soccer. It's very difficult for one person, he or she, to be able to manage all of those different things, because there's so much analysis goes into the game now, especially into the opposition you're playing against, that back in the day it was one manager, lads, we're playing like this, go out and play.
Yeah.
But
we're training at 8 o'clock Tuesday night, see you there.
8 o'clock, yeah, orange quarters and all that kind of stuff. But
because like managing a team like Tip, for example, Liam Sheedy seems to be a brilliant man manager. He seems to be able to get the best out of them psychologically, but by all accounts, as was the case when Liam was there first time around, it's Eamon O'Shea that's coaching the team, and Liam Sheedy has just pulled them all together, like Declan Kidney did for Ireland when he got that brilliant coaching team together and led them to a Grand Slam. And we have seen it a bit in GA over the years. We've seen, didn't Eugene McKenna and Art McCrory went so close to the All-Ireland against Dublin in 95. Before Joe Kernan took over in Armagh, there was a two-pronged managerial approach. It's the case in Clare hurling at the moment, isn't it? They had a brilliant year last year, obviously not going so well this time around. But Rochford seems to be having a huge influence on the way that they're playing, and while defensively they're as solid as they ever were under Jim McGuinness, they are getting a lot of bodies forward. Michael Murphy's having another brilliant season. It's going to take something special for Cavan to win it. I have somehow managed to shoehorn the first 8 minutes of the show into Cavan, or vice versa.
No one saw that coming, Dave.
Well, which we'll do, but we're going to get more Cavan Donegal goodness later in the show in the second hour, because, well, as I said, we'll be speaking to Brendan Devaney and Enda McGinley. We wanted to get you in, Stuey, to talk about the draws that Richie would have brought our listeners last night on the back of the Europa League and Champions League draws. And I had a little chat with you off air just before we come in. All winnable ties is how you describe them as a collective. Let's go through again what it was that the teams ended up facing or will be facing. Dundalk against Riga FC, the Latvian champions. And then if they get through that tie, it's either the Albanian champions or the Azerbaijani champions, which are Karabag. They'll be familiar to Celtic fans in particular. Your thoughts on that one first?
Well, Initially, definitely a winnable game. I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dundalk are looking at this now and thinking this may be their opportunity to emulate what they would have done a few years back in reaching the group stages of the Europa League. With the experience they have in Europe now. And
it's a different team, though, isn't it?
Probably more importantly, the confidence they now have going into these games is huge. Riga will be looking at Dundalk now saying, well, normally what tends to happen, Dave, is that you look at the opposition you're playing against, you look at their history in Europe, and they will look at Dundalk and say, oof, these boys mean business, look at all the scalps they've had. So that can be a huge psychological factor for Dundalk going into that game. They have to make that count. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about Riga is just even talking to Stephen earlier on about the sort of the history of this club. They were only formed, I think it was 2015, a merge between the two clubs. Yeah. They started off in the lower division, got promoted, and they've built on that ever since. So it would suggest it's a well-run club, although he was mentioned they've gone through 3 managers in 12 months, which is, I don't know what that's about, but maybe it's a search for excellence or whatever the case may be. But the only concern I'd have in that tie would be hunger. This could be a club that are hungry to get to the top. They've started down here and they've built themselves up, and that can always be a danger. And that's where Dundalk were 4 or 5 years ago before they made the breakthrough. That would be the only difficulty there.
Cork City, the headline news from the draws really, will not quite their first opponent aside from Luxembourg, but if they can somehow negotiate that tie. Rangers haven't played in this country in 35 years. The height of the troubles at the time.
Yeah.
Stephen Gerrard, if he's still in the managerial hot seat over at Ibrox, bringing him over to Leeside, that'd be something special, wouldn't it?
Well, people remember actually Shells were drawn against Rangers. I think it was 2000, was it, Richie? 2000, that year. And obviously couldn't play the game here. We're forced to play in Tranmere. I remember I was training that night and came in from training and quickly ran up to have a look to TV, see how the game was going.
98.
Shells were winning 3-0 at half time. Incredible night. Ultimately, the Rangers came out and just turned it around 5-3 in the end. But the difficulty for Cork here is that they have to focus on the game that they have to play. I think Europe could be a big saviour for Cork this season. Their league form, as we all know, has been very, very flat. It's been awful, actually, in comparison to the heights that they've hit over previous seasons. But this is a different competition, and it's an opportunity for them to kind of get away from the stagnation of the league and maybe just to kickstart their season again. I had a similar experience myself with Pats in 08, where we had an awful league season, league run relative to the team we had. We had an excellent team. Terrible league form. We were way down the table. Europe came along. We ended up going through 3 rounds and it completely turned our season on its head. And I think Cork will be looking at that saying this is their chance now to advance in Europe. Be nice to play against Rangers. Be even nicer to play against Rangers in Turner's Cross. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But the focus is to get through the first round and get their season going again.
The other tie, Shamrock Rovers facing SK Brann of Norway. St. Pat's against the side that finished runners-up in the Swedish League last season, IFK Norrköping. There's a lot to look forward to there, and particularly with the summer football and everything, you hope that it just might tell. Obviously, the Swedish side will be in the midst of their season as well. Richie, where do you want to start tonight?
We'll start with Royal Ascot. Day 3 belonged to Frankie Dettori today. The 48-year-old jockey won the first 4 races of the day, including the day's feature. Dettori guided the favourite Stradivarius to victory in the Gold Cup for the 2nd year running. Despite his big win today, Dettori wasn't going to take all the credit.
Let's not take the shine away from the horse. He's an amazing horse. He's been unbeaten now for the last 8 starts. He's won 2 Gold Cups. He's got a heart bigger than his body, and he's great for the public. Everybody's latched onto him, and everybody loves him, including me.
Trainer John Gosden was also gushing in his praise for Stradivarius.
He's an interesting horse. He's diminutive, and you've ridden enough in your life. He's got white socks, white face, and everyone says, and he's a Palomino pony. And yet the more they squeeze him and make it tough, the more he wants to fight and get out. I was just saying there that he'd be a dangerous person to take out on the town all night. He'd go and pick a fight with someone who's 10 foot tall at a bar.
Yeah, but he'd probably win.
He'd probably win because he's quick.
John Gosden speaking to Mick Fitzgerald there after the big win today for Stradivarius in today's feature, the Gold Cup. Another line to come out of Royal Ascot today, and that being Willie Mullins is sitting out this year's festival. Owner Richie today revealed that the champion Irish national hunt trainer has undergone what he called a small procedure. Mullins has trained 6 winners at Royal Ascot this week, and Richie insists the Close Sutton trainer will be back fighting fit, he says, in a short while.
Everyone in Louth has been in touch tonight.
Who? Everyone?
Text from everyone in Louth. Meath can't honestly count that 2010 Leinster win, can they?
Can and do. Can and do. Good man.
Oh, let's not go there again.
Can we?
Joe Sheridan throwing the ball over the line and all that.
Did throw it over the line.
That poor referee.
It's up for the referee to spot it, you know?
It is, just like it was up to the Swedish referee to spot Thierry Henry's handball.
Exactly. Play the whistle, Dave. Nobody has any right to
Handballs.
Carry on.
The Netherlands have finished top of Group E at the Women's World Cup. Their 2-1 win over Canada in Reims this evening has set up a last 16 meeting with Japan for next Tuesday. The Canadians finished second and they'll face the winners of Group F. That will be decided tonight. More of that and on. But there was high drama in Montpellier where an injury time goal from Ajara and Chu saw Cameroon beat New Zealand 2-1 to secure third place in Group E and passage to the last 16. They had looked to be going out courtesy of a really dreadful own goal in the second half of that game. At 8,
winner was an absolute belter.
It was a great, and they deserved the victory from watching it there in the office as well. They had,
it was like Archie Gemmell.
There was an element of, there was the Archie Gemmell lean. I know what you're talking about there, where Gemmell kind of leant to his left and leant to his right, wasn't it, and flicked him in his left.
This was on the opposite
It was a mirror
flank.
image, so he kind of leant to her left and flicked
really
to her right.
brilliant goal, incredibly skillful. So they dug themselves out of that one.
They did indeed. The away goal they'd conceded was really, really terrible. So good to see Cameroon dig themselves back into contention there. At 8, the USA need only a point from their game with Sweden in Le Havre to finish top of Group F and seal a last 16 meeting with Spain. Group F minnows, Thailand take on Chile in the night's other game. That one is in Rennes. Monaghan midfielder Darren Hughes has had his 8-week ban upheld by the Central Competitions Control Committee over an incident in the Farney County's 4-point victory over Fermanagh in the qualifiers. The Scotstown man is currently out injured as he recovers from a broken ankle and was a team official on the day. Hughes is likely to now take his appeal further to the Central Appeals Committee. Padraig Harrington has made a promising start to golf's Travellers Championship. The Ryder Cup captain is 2 under par following an opening round of 68. A short time ago, on 1 under par was sitting Seamus Power. The lead there held jointly at the moment by Ryan Armour and Bronson Burgoon, both of whom are in the clubhouse on 6 under par. Moving on to the European Tour, and play was delayed and indeed suspended for the day in Munich and the opening round of the BMW Championship. That was due to storms in and around the Bavarian city. They called a halt to the play pretty early in the day's going. When they were called ashore, Gavin Moynihan was best of the Irish on 2 under par. Paul Dunn is 1 over and Michael Hoey completed his round before the heavens opened, but he's 2 over par. Italy's Andrea Pavan leads on 6 under and play is going to resume at the early start of 6:15 Irish time tomorrow morning. Some big spending on the way from Manchester City, it would seem. They've moved a step closer to signing Rodri from Atletico Madrid. Marcus Llorente has left Real Madrid for Atletico for €40 million. Llorente is believed to be a like-for-like replacement for Rodri, who's poised to join the Premier League champions for a club record €70 million. Meanwhile, City fullback Alexander Zinchenko has signed a new contract at the Etihad, keeping him with the club until 2024. And sticking with City extensions, Megan Campbell, the Republic of Ireland defender, has signed a new deal to keep her with the women's side until the end of next season.
It's an interesting move, that Llorente move to Atletico, because it's 40 million coming in the other way.
Yeah.
We already thought that maybe Real had kind of spent what they had available to spend, because I think it's 6 new signings they brought in.
240 million, I think it's €250 million, something like that they've already spent, $250 million on 4 or 5 players.
Because I'm pretty sure that Paul Pogba and his comments during the week are going to come up in our chat with John Giles just after 7:30. Yeah. Maybe there's still money there to make one more signing.
Nothing would ever surprise with Real, and I agree. I'd say this could be a manoeuvre to.
They're not like for like now. Llorente and Pogba would be different types of players.
But it's a way of getting cash in, isn't it? Really, and to justify the signing of Pogba. Absolutely,
it's an interesting one.
There's a lot of players on the way out there, Real, because they need to get that money in, because financial fair play is going to bite them in the hole essentially if they don't ship out at least another 4 or 5.
They could do it getting rid of certain Welshmen, couldn't they, and raising some much needed revenue that way.
Well, as Jonathan Barnett mentioned today, he doesn't want to go.
Yeah,
he's got 3 years left in his contract. He's just going
to all day.
He's going to become the Winston Bogart of La Liga.
600 grand a week.
Would you take it though? You know what I mean though? Like if they're like, we don't want you to play anymore, you're like, I'm 29, I've got 3 years left in my contract.
I've won all there is to win.
I've won a few Champions Leagues.
I'll just work on my handicap. train with the reserves every day. No problem.
Why would you want to go back to North London or to Manchester, regardless of the money?
Come on.
I know there's a bit of professional pride to play.
He's got to play, yeah. I mean,
maybe he doesn't.
No, I don't.
You always wanted to play because you were playing for your living.
Football. I want to
You're
play.
playing for. I mean, the love of the game is probably gone.
He's made his money, isn't he? I mean, how much is he worth? I mean.
Yeah, so he's got no motivation and left, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs when the game has gone that way. I don't know where this is all going. Like, you know, it's funny enough just even chatting to John about it. Like, I just think the disillusionment with the Premiership, I think, is starting to. You can see it in some people here. Like, you know, there's so much money, 200 grand, 300 grand a week for these guys, and
it's not based in reality.
It's not based in reality. No, it's like it's Love Island for football. Like, you know, to be quite honest. But I don't know where it's all going to end, but hopefully, from our point of view, I'd like to think that it will feed into supporters coming back to football here and being part of some sort of progression here rather than spending their money going over.
Let's see how long you retain your motivation for when you've made millions out of the music industry.
I'm fully motivated. I'm not doing it for money, Dave.
Paddy Donovan has become the latest Irish fighter to sign with Top Rank. The 20-year-old Limerick welterweight signed a multi-year professional contract with Bob Arum's promotion. Donovan will be managed and trained by the former middleweight champion of the world, our very own Andy Lee. And Lee has described the 13-time national champion as a special talent. So he's been well received as well by the Americans. I was talking about this today too. Naomi Osaka's poor form has continued with Wimbledon less than a fortnight away. The women's world number one suffered a straight sets defeat to world number 43 Yulia Putinetsova in the second round of the Birmingham Classic. Osaka was beaten in round 3 at Roland Garros, having come through 2 3-setters prior to that. Elsewhere in Birmingham today, there were wins for French Open champion Ashley Barty, Venus Williams and Yulia Gerges, while Maria Sharapova was beaten in the last 16 in Mallorca by Angelique Kerber today. And Juan Martín del Potro has been ruled out of Wimbledon. The current world number 12 requires surgery on a fractured kneecap. Del Potro suffered the injury in yesterday's match with Denis Shapovalov at Queen's Club, and essentially it is a reopening of an old wound that had hampered him and left him out of action for 4 weeks earlier on this season. Andy Murray's return to tennis has come to pass as well. His first action since January's Australian Open is now underway at Queen's Club. He is playing alongside his mother's favourite player, that is Feliciano Lopez, in the doubles at Queen's Club. So Murray making his first return and on grass as well. Just several months after his hip surgery. They are losing in the first set at the moment to the tandem of Farah and Cabal by 5 games to 4.
Okay, brilliant stuff, Richie. Thanks a million. A text in from Darren. What did Stuey make of Danny Mandrew's goal versus Rovers?
Oh,
he's going places.
Stunning, absolutely stunning.
What a belter! Just one of those that gets better every time you have a look at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think obviously the camera behind the goal was you know, I obviously added to the sheer quality. But
have you ever struck a ball as cleanly as that?
I don't think anybody struck a ball as cleanly as that.
Struck plenty of balls cleanly as that, but they've probably gone over the stand. To be quite honest with you, it was real quality because he's naturally right-footed, you know, but he's that kind of player. He has that sort of balance. Quite, you know, he's not small. He's tall enough for it, but he has that sort of Zidane balance. It's, you know, that kind of way, that real sort of very graceful on right, left foot. But what a hell of a goal! Hell of a goal. As good a goal as you'll see in any league, you know.
Promising player though. He's had a good season.
Yeah, he's real quality, I have to say, and he looks like he's got he's focused on playing. I think he's you know, getting that regular football at Bow is working a treat, and he's developing as kind of the main man, so to speak. And he's not going around with a swagger. He's not going around with, you know, a big head about it. He's sort of playing into that sort of team ethic that they have going so well for them at Bows at the moment.
Right, before you go, I know what I'm going to be listening to on Spotify on the way home. Give the song a plug. You might as well, since you're here.
The EP a plug. I Could Never Be is the name of the EP.
It's the new music from Stuey Byrne.
New music, yeah. So
I Could Never Be. Put that into Spotify. I found it earlier.
Yeah.
Or however else you consume your music. I Could Never Be.
Yeah, give it a listen.
From Stuart. Okay, Stuart / Stewie. Thanks a million for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.
Richie, thanks a million for that as well.
Cheers, Aye.
Before we get to John Giles, just another reminder of something big that's taking place in November. Off the Ball is heading off for some winter sun and top-class golf, and we want you to join us. The OTB crew, along with special guests Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy, Peter Lowry and more, are taking on two of the best courses on the planet, the Yas Links and the National, for the first ever Off the Ball Open this November. It's 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, a Peter Lowry golf clinic, a gala dinner and a world-famous OTB roadshow this November 17th to 23rd in Abu Dhabi. Sounds like your kind of thing? Well, then do sign up at offtheball.com/open. That's offtheball.com/open. John Giles is next.
Off the Ball on Newstalk. Full steam.
Have you ever wondered what the relationship between the Data Protection Commissioner and the big tech companies is like?
When I saw